RFD TV presents Gentle Giant with Pam Minnick and Katie Kaufman.
One of the many suggestions we've gotten from our Gentle Giants Facebook fans is to do a story on Dick Sparrow. He was an incredible teamster and, from what we've learned, an even more amazing man.
That's right, Pam. He set a Guinness World Record for his 48-horse hitch. I know we've seen the 6 horses. I can't even imagine 48. This is one story all of you don't want to miss. Stay with us when we return. Gentle Giants honors Dick Sparrow.
Welcome back to Gentle Giants. Horses were in Dick Sparrow's blood. He grew up on a farm in Iowa where his family had raised horses since 1872. So it's no wonder that he grew up to become one of the most celebrated teamsters in recent times. Dick Sparrow could lead a horse by himself when he was 3 and could ride the family's Percheron solo when he was only 4. Dick and Joy showed Belgian draft horses for more than 4 decades. In 1972, Dick began an adventure that would change his and his family's lives forever. The Barnum and Bailey Circus had stopped using a 40-horse hitch in 1904. By special request of the Joseph Schlitz Brewing Company, as the main attraction in the old Milwaukee Days 4th of July parade, Chappie Fox, founder of the parade, asked Sparrow if he could drive a 40-horse hitch, recreating the impressive feat. Sparrow said he could, but any teamster who had driven 40-horse hitches were no longer alive. Before Sparrow could bring the 40-horse hitch to Milwaukee, he had to figure out the logistics, since the last time the largest single circus parade unit had been attempted was at the turn of the last century. So with Fox's help, Sparrow used a magnifying glass to study the details of the harnesses and hitching in photos taken in the late 1890s. Then he figured out what needed to be done and assembled the team. He had to practice before coming to Milwaukee.
When they came to him and wanted a 40-horse hitch for a circus parade, he didn't know how to do it, and it hadn't been done in years. So they basically brought him a picture. That's all, no one alive had ever done it before. So they brought him a picture and said, this is what we have, try and figure it out. So he used that, and he sat down with some great teamsters, and they kind of got a plan together. And after they had kind of seen it through to fruition, they went to back to those pictures. And what they had done, it seemed to match what, in the early 1900s, what they had done to drive a 40 together. So it was kind of cool, good teamster can be handed down, a good teamster is a good teamster.
I can still remember in 1973, my mom and dad loaded us up in the car, takes us to Milwaukee, and we sat on the curb to watch Dick Sparrow drive 40 horses down the parade route. It was amazing. How could this guy do that?
Dick and Joy had 2 sons and 3 daughters. They grew up in the draft horse industry. He also influenced many young aspiring teamsters.
Dick was a great guy to give experience to young kids, to let them drive. He would let us drive horses all day long, and it was so good, and he's done so much for the draft horse world. Dick taught me how to long line drive, in which that means 2, 4, and 6 in a straight line, not abreast.
Dick Sparrow to me was like another dad. I grew up about 45 miles from Dick, and my grandfather had Clydesdales where Dick Sparrow had the Belgians. He was just an idol for me, just somebody to look up to and learn to drive. He gave everybody a chance to drive the horses.
Dick Sparrow was definitely an influence in my life. I can't say the word or the name Dick Sparrow without saying joy. Dick was the original promoter in our industry. He taught me preparedness.
Dick drove the 40-horse hitch in cities all across the United States. And during this time, he drove 48 horses twice at the Iowa State Fair and in the Cotton Bowl Parade in Dallas, Texas. That feat garnered him a spot in the Guinness Book of World Records.
There may have been a couple other people that could have done it, didn't have the personality, you know, that Dick had. And he had a lot of friends that helped him put that together.
I think more than anything for the industry is he brought a spotlight to the draft horse. You know, people that didn't know anything about Belgian horses or draft horses or how to drive saw all these horses, these 40 horses strung in a line and thought, that's fabulous. You know, someone that didn't know a good horse from a bad horse could look at the 40 and say, that's phenomenal. So it was a really good, he was a great liaison. He brought a lot of people that had no idea what was going on to see, you know, it was a highlight. He highlighted the industry very well.
When we return, we'll learn about Dick Sparrow's special grandpa trips. Stay with us. Gentle Giants will be back in just a moment.
Anywhere in the United States I've been, they hear Sparrow and they, well, I know Dick Sparrow. Well, everybody knows Grandpa.
Welcome back to Gentle Giants. Dick Sparrow earned notoriety for his ability to handle the lines of the Belgians he drove, but his children and grandchildren remember him for the special cross-country grandpa trips.
He loved his grandkids, and a lot of fond memories growing up with Grandpa, because we grew up on the same farm. I did with my grandpa, so like he'd take us out on grandkid trips and leave all the parents at home and just him and the grandkids, and we'd go clear to Wyoming, just ride horses. It was a lot of fun.
From as early as I can remember, he was a huge personality. He truly had a following wherever he was. He had friends in every part of the country. Growing up, he would take my cousins and I on a trip once a year. No parents were allowed. I was 6 when I started going and my sister was 4. Really not probably something my parents should have done, but it was an amazing experience. He took us all over the country. We have been to the Lilac Festival, we've been to Colorado, Texas, we've been all over with him, and he loved having us. He loved having the horses and he loved having us, and those are my best childhood memories. It was him.
Dad's life, driving horses and traveling with horses, was varied, and he went from coast to coast. We went from Zering, Iowa, central Iowa, to the Rose Bowl Parade in Pasadena. And on the way, he always tried to make sure that we all got an opportunity to see a lot of America. And so we would take maybe a field trip with 25 people on our crew off to go see somebody that had a breeding farm, somebody that had raised Belgians, somebody that raised Percherons, and off we'd go, and we'd all climb into a couple vehicles and go. And he wanted to make sure everybody got to see America and horses.
Just about all the family has draft horses. The oldest son, Paul, lives on the home farm. He has Belgian horses.
My grandfather had 5 children, and all of them are involved in one facet or another, from breeding to training, to my aunt travels with her husband as an exhibition hitch. So we're all involved, and then trickling down to the grandchildren. I have a cousin that's a vet. I have a cousin that's a massage therapist. I myself travel with a couple different hitches, both driving and grooming. It's truly a passion.
My husband and I worked for Prefit Manufacturing for 10 years. We drove a promotional hitch for Prefit of Percheron draft horses all across the United States and into Canada as well, performing at rodeos, fairs, and expos. During that period of time, we got to meet a lot of different rodeo representatives, fair representatives. When Prefit decided to discontinue their program, Jason and I purchased the hitch from them and all their equipment, and for the last year and a half, we have traveled to a wide variety of fairs, horse expos, and rodeos. And Jason Roman rides horses, which means he has 2 horses that he stands on, 1 foot on each, and then he has a team of either the 2 he's on, 2 more, 4 more, or 6 more. You want to provide that level of excellence to them. So that's what we and Jason and I try to do as we go through life with what we do. And you want to make your ancestors proud of what you do.
Pretty much he was larger than life as far as driving horses goes. And I hope that I could ever be as good a driver as he was. He's amazing. My grandpa taught me how to drive. When I first started driving, he'd sit down, we started breaking horses on the manure spreader. So I'd stand up in the back of the manure spreader and he'd hand me the lines over his shoulders, and that's how I started driving horses. Probably barely old enough to walk. I show my own horses. My fiance and I have our own hitch of Percheron horses. We kind of switch breeds, but everybody gives me a pretty hard time about that. But my great-grandfather started out with Percherons and then went to Belgians, so I would just tell everybody I'm just going back to what my great-grandpa started with. We're just kind of starting out, and just big investment when you're first starting out and you don't have anything, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of work to get towards it. But eventually we'll have our own 6-horse hitch, and we've just been showing 4 the last couple of years, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
His family's been so good. His kids are very good at it. His grandkids are even better at it.
All of us really have stayed involved in the draft horse industry. There was a show a couple years ago. My grandfather was still alive and my grandmother. They were sitting along the rail at the show, and they realized that in a youth cart class there were 27 of us. Whether we were exhibitors or riding with the youth, that were in the ring at one time. And there was truly never a time that they were more proud. That just truly lit up his face, and he was telling everybody about it, and it's really something that gave him a lot of joy. It's something you can't put into words and you can't explain, but you also can't deny it. You know, I have had times been away from the industry and you miss it like it's a part of who you are, because it is. And that's something that my grandfather left for us. He left a legacy.
I would say he's probably the most knowledgeable guy of all the aspects of the draft horse world. Showing, farming, and the 40-horse hitch. I don't know anybody that did more with horses than he did. A very unique person to the draft horse world.
Dick Sparrow loved his family, and he loved taking the lines of the record-breaking hitch. Stay with us, Gentle Giants will be right back.
Welcome back to Gentle Giants. When Dick Sparrow hitched up the 40-match Belgians, they stretched out 120 feet in front of him, handling 80,000 pounds of horsepower and holding 75 pounds of lines. Millions of people held their breath as he maneuvered the corners of parades. Sparrow was a big bear of a man, and he needed every last ounce of strength to handle the lines when the 40-horse hitch appeared at the 4th of July parade in 1972. It was a 3.5-mile parade route that required maneuvering around more than a dozen corners. Turning corners required split-second timing and expert maneuvering.
Turning a corner, you just don't pull back on the lines on one side and let them on the other side. You had to turn each team separately to go around the corner. As much as 30 feet of lines go through your hands. And they had a little hole behind Dick and the floor of the wagon. All the slack of the lines went down through that hole. And there was a guy sitting down in the wagon that could see out over the butts or behind the horses too, and knew what was coming up to keep all the slack pulled back through the hole anyway, and keep it all untangled. There's a lot of people never realize things like that. When you went around a street corner, at times the lead horses would be out of your sight, the people the outriders or walkers that had to grab a hold of the horses and take you on around the corner until you get straightened out again to be able to see where you were going. Dick would say, you know, it wasn't Dick Sparrow that did the 40, it was the crew. It took, one guy had his chore was to have 4 horses harnessed and ready to go when they were needed. And there was only 2 people to hook the horses to the wagon, so nothing was missed. Everybody knew their job. And then there was people always looking over and making sure and double checking everything was all hooked up and done right.
People just they just wanted to be part of it. And that was another thing. They'd get together and put 40 horses together, and we had horses that come from Shipshawana to go out to Iowa to get put into a group of horses, and Dick was just a super individual.
Why would Dick Sparrow take on such a challenge?
Knowing Dick, it was because he wanted to, and he knew he could, and there's no challenge, I think he'd try anything once with the horses.
There were 4 wide and 10 long for the 40. And from the back of the wagon to the nose of the lead horse was 134 feet. You can't get off a wagon when you're sitting 12 feet in the air in time to run 135 feet to get to the accident before it happens, you know. And so they had people along beside the hitch to be able to grab in and do their job.
It amazed me how he could see a horse before what it was going to do. Like if this horse was going to jump or turn upside down, he could realize and tell you to grab it. And I don't think you can ever teach that into a person. It would be you have to have the knowledge also to do it, and he had it.
How he could turn a bad situation into a simple one just like that. I mean, it was amazing what he could do. At the National Western Stock Show one year, the evener broke on the lead team, and they pulled all the line out of his hands, but like this much. And he hung on to him and finished driving him, drove him out. Not many people can hang on to horses while they're running and stop them and drive them out of the ring.
He's a great horseman. He was a revolutionary in his driving abilities. He was fearless. He was a big barrel-chested, strong man, but he had a good set of hands too. Anybody that can drive 40 and 48 around corners, and he was a good man. He was a fun man to be around. Could learn a lot from him.
He's put me in this position that I'm in, and I bet over half of the people in draft horse world's been through Dick's school.
He was just so knowledgeable with everything. I respected him and everything he did, the horsemanship he had, the knowledge he had. And I spent 3 days at that clinic, and I think I learned more there than I did in any of my schooling.
Dick had a voice that was kind of rough, but heart of gold. And he was liked to joke with people, and if you had a problem, Dick would be there in a heartbeat to help you out, get you headed the right direction. He was just a super guy. His bark was worse than his bite.
At my grandfather's funeral, my uncle got up and was talking about him, and he said he loved Belgian horses, but more than that, he really truly loved people. People from all walks of life. He truly never met a stranger. He loved everyone he met, rich, poor, it didn't matter. He loved good conversation and good people.
We want to thank all of you for watching Gentle Giants today. I know Pam and I had such a great time learning about the wonderful Dick Sparrow.
We enjoyed meeting his family and their look back at the great dad and grandpa that they had, and to meet all the Teamsters, the drivers that he influenced and trained to hold the lines. He really was an incredible man.
I think of everyone that we've met, when you ask them, do you know Dick Sparrow? Everyone says, well, of course we knew Dick.
And they all have a story to tell.
That's right. We'll see all of you right back here this time next week
on Gentle Giants.